I really hope I'm not the only one who was left a little shocked and kind of like embarrassed when you realize that Armored Rep counted as the boss they were talking about. In hindsight, I really should have realized that, but I was under the assumption Armored Rep Angelica was a bonus, like the hidden boss. I don't know. I think I'm just an idiot, but hopefully I'm not the only one who's a little shocked because it's like, oh, yeah, I guess it makes sense. But I was under the impression that Haruka discovered a secret boss. So when they're talking about, hey, the dungeon's overflowing with crazy monsters, the only way to deal with it is to, well, if you kill the boss, the final boss, then everything just kind of stops. Yeah, sure, makes sense. I'm under the assumption he skipped past where it would be considered the final boss and discovered the hidden one, which was her. So then it's like, oh, that's actually an interesting dilemma you don't see often in Isekai, where it's essentially like, hey, MC, kill one to save many. Or basically, are you gonna be like, I can't kill someone like that? We've already seen him kill someone, mind you. But it is an interesting dilemma, and he immediately goes for the direction that I think most of us assume he would, which is, I'll just go kill everything upstairs. Which, can he do it? Maybe. He might play Dynasty Warriors and just start swinging things left and right and killing hundreds in one swing. But at the end of the day, it is an interesting dilemma because really this is just a random person he just met. But the idea that she's been so cursed that he wants to give her a second chance and happy life, I gotta respect the hustle. But yeah, the whole episode up until that, I was like, oh, this whole freaking episode. I didn't realize that's what they were implying. Well, shit. Full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my full Cathatana This Lunar Life in Another World episodes. It's over there exclusively. So, I'm liking this one. Like, I think I said it around episode 2 or 3 in that area. That is probably the weakest show I'm watching this season. But it's one I legitimately enjoy watching. And that's been a very consistent opinion throughout this entire show. It's actually remained fairly consistent visually. It hasn't really dipped. Granted, is there extraordinary moments? Not really. But the art direction, I enjoy looking at. The animation that's there, I enjoy watching it. In general, it just feels like a show that knows what it can be and doesn't try to overextend itself. But the one thing I like about it is at least once per episode, there's one little moment that I'm like, okay, you didn't go completely generic. Granted, there's going to be some people who'll be like, what's the point of watching a show if it's just slightly above generic? For a lot of people, maybe there is no reason. I can tell you my reason, but I get it. Some people just may not get that. But for me, it's like, okay, if this was airing on a day that has 5 shows that I'm like, Jesus, I want to watch these, I would cut a show like this out of my list and probably not watch it. But it airs on a Thursday, and the only shows I'm really watching, it's like I have the slot. And it's enjoyable enough to me. It doesn't reinvent the wheel. But it's enjoyable enough to me that I'm like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I want to watch it. Simple as that. I'm not trying to say this is the second coming of Jesus Christ here, but it's damn fun and it's consistent at what it does. And throughout the episodes, there's usually a few times that I say, okay, didn't quite go the way I thought. And for a show that's actually pretty generic and predictable at face value, when those moments happen, it does make me enjoy it slightly more than I would. And when I look at a show like this, and I just say, it would be so easy for it to put in the bare minimum effort visually, I appreciate a fun show that has a very consistent and unique art style, because really when you look at the art direction for the show, it doesn't feel like your run-of-the-mill isekai show either. And when you look at what's happening right now, is what they're doing with the dungeon is actually pretty interesting. This is one of those moments that I'm talking about. It's slightly different than what you expect, and it does elevate the enjoyment. So the idea that you go down levels, different monsters, stronger, you see that in any basic bitch RPG video game, let alone, isekai anime, fantasy anime, whatever it is. But the idea of the overflow is actually pretty cool. So basically it's kind of like, okay, the deeper they go, the stronger they get, until eventually it just starts to overflow and all these monsters come to the surface, and what are you going to do? It's essentially the Attack on Titan rumbling, but from the dungeon here. Well, you kill the final boss and that will just disrupt everything, or you could attempt to just hold it off forever. But realistically, most people aren't going to be like Haruka, who's overpowered as shit and can probably deal with everything coming out. So when you look at what they're doing with the dungeon, yeah, I do have to come out saying that's interesting and not what I see every day in these types of shows. Am I trying to say because of that everyone should watch this show? No, there's dozens of shows I would tell people to watch before even considering the show. But if you're a degenerate like me who watches far too much anime, yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, these are the kind of moments that make me stick with it. And the whole time I'm thinking, and I'm sure I'm not alone, that what's gonna happen is we'll reach the final point of this dungeon, we'll defeat what's ever down there, and then they'll discover him and be like, what the hell, we were rushing down to save you, and, you know, blah, 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 the generic, I can't believe you, Haruka, we were worried about you. And instead, they're like separated by like 20 levels, and they both stick their head in a hole, and they start communicating and clear up any misunderstanding. They actually are avoiding as many cliches as I think the show is capable of, while still staying true to its basic bitch fun formula, which I've kind of come to know and enjoy. Not gonna say I love, it's an enjoyable show, and that's how I've treated it from the very beginning, and it's never dipped below what I expected this show to be, and at certain points, they have surprised me. Haruka actually killing a fool, granted, I still think they didn't really do a great job at visualizing that he's dead, but still, the boy did kill someone who was an absolute menace, or in an episode like this, giving him a moral dilemma. Granted, he immediately goes to the direction of, I'm going to save her and also save everyone. But given the fact that the show has actually killed people, it's entirely possible by the time he gets up there, he may not be able to keep her alive and she'll sacrifice herself. You never know, right? Do I expect it to go that direction? No. But I do recognize it's a possibility, even if it's a slim possibility given what they've shown up to this point. And those little moments tied together with something that is just fun for me when those moments aren't around, creates an enjoyable, it's fast food, you know? But fast food doesn't have to be something you hate. You know, you're not gonna go get McDonald's or Burger King or whatever your Wendy's, you're not gonna go get that every meal unless you're an absolute pick. But do you enjoy it once in a while? Yeah, and for me, that's once a week coming up here on Thursdays and watching it. And it's good at what it does. And I like what it's doing right now. With where we're at, I would probably watch a season 2. I don't need a season 2, but I probably would watch it, especially if they're going to continue to escalate with interesting world building, like the overflow of the dungeon. However, if there's not too many more of these moments, I could probably leave it off as a season 1 and just assume this man's harem continues to build and he enjoys his loner life as he is. But either way, good episode. I enjoyed it. I kind of felt like an idiot when I realized that the boss they were talking about was Angelica, but you know what? Made, I guess, the reveal a little more impactful for me. But yeah. Let me know what you thought of this week's episode. We have 2 episodes left, I believe, and honestly, the show has flown by. May not be a show you're going to remember for months to come, but I think for a lot of people, you know, finishing the show up, I mean, especially if you got 10 episodes in, you know, if we ever did see a season 2 announcement, I think a lot of people would be like, huh, I'd watch that. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. I'm Isekai trash, so shoot me. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around. Of course, ring that bell. And like I mentioned, full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Ben Liu, DJ Samuel, Taco Tuesday, Benjamin Henderson, X Nico, Nugzio, Fuzzy, Doubles, Pokemon 222, 888, Beatrice, Zuda, Jonathan Bromlow, and we also have Azop. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. You all have a good one.